Steve was like, I want to make a film about slavery. And this is the sort of story. And I was like, wow, that sounds interesting and seems, you know, like the right thing to do for sure. Next step. And then I got a script several months later, but, you know, I never presumed that, you know, I would get, you know, that Steve would offer me a part. I mean, you know, I just read the script, and it just moved me to sort of tears by the end of it. And I called him up and I was like, look, I want to be part of this. You know, having read it, I was like, oh, I'd like to play Epps.
Yeah.
But I didn't for 1 minute presume that, you know, that it was a shoe-in. I just said to Steve, you know, I want to be part of it. If it's 1 day's work, 2 days' work, this is a great story. It's an important story. And then Steve was like, well, what do you think of the character Epps? And I was like, well, you know, this is an amazing part.
That's it. Do not look in his direction. Continue on.
That's it.
Found him, Master. Brought her back just as instructed.
What'd you just now tell her? What'd you say to Bets?
No words were spoken, none of consequence.
You're a liar. You damn liar. I saw you talking with her. Tell me.
Can I speak of what did not occur?
Oh, Master Black! Master! You come here.
Master,
I said come here!
I brought her back just like you.
Come here!
Master! Master! I got it just as instructed. Master!
Stay away from Pat's boy.
Master out.
Tell me how you saw Epps, the character.
Well, I think, you know, through Steve's sort of guidance right at the beginning, I knew that he wanted me to play him. Well, the core of the character was in the love affair, if that's the right way to put it, with Patsy. His love for Patsy.
Who's a slave.
Yeah, who was a slave on his plantation, and his sort of lack of intellect and I guess sort of substance as a person to deal with it, and he can't process it. And so he sets about trying to destroy her in the hope that it'll destroy that feeling that he has towards her. And you know, Steve was speaking about him as a very sort of flawed human being, never really as somebody who was a terrible slave owner. So from the get-go, I knew that he wanted me to find, in a way, you know, an empathy with the character in the right way. I think the great thing about Steve is he portrays, in all his films, the characters that are perhaps less likable without judgment and with great understanding. And even sort of from the outset, I think Steve was talking about Epps with a considerable amount of sympathy in terms of him being a victim, in a way, of the time in itself as well.
So explain to me what you mean by that. I mean, you thought him as a victim of a man who could not understand anything beyond property?
I think Epps is, you know, is a human being, first of all, just like everyone here on this table. Yeah. You know, he owns slaves. He doesn't understand how he, a slave owner, a white slave owner, is in love with this slave, this black slave. There's a passion there, which, you know, love is this thing which, you know, it decides, you don't decide. And his dealing with that is kind of, you know, it's classic. It's a classic tragedy in a way. You know, and he's a human being within that. So, you know, you can't paint him as sort of, you know, as some kind of one-dimensional character. He is a human being like us all, and that's interesting. That's fascinating. In order to investigate that character within the story.